Let's turn to business news now with Nona Peltier, who is on the other side of me in the Auckland studio. The New Zealand Super Fund, Nona, has sold shares in some of the world's biggest companies to reduce what? Its investment in firms
that have exposure to climate change.
Right.
So some 300 companies that they've invested in are involved. They've basically cut their investments in these particular companies, and they include some big names like ExxonMobil, Shell, BP, that kind of size, large companies. That has reduced their exposure in their passive funds, which basically account for about 3/4 of their portfolio. Now they're going to start looking at their active investments as well and clean them out. Now the reason they're doing that, their Chief Investment Officer, Matt Winneray, says it's really to reduce their exposure to those companies that are involved in climate change. And we have a little bit of Matt Winneray talking about that.
This is an investment decision, so this is clearly not an ethical decision at this stage. However, it is an investment decision. We've reviewed the risk that we think is posed by climate change more broadly to our portfolio, and we've reduced that risk.
And that's the Superfund's Chief Investment Officer, Matt Winneray. Now, so it's kind of interesting. We'll see what happens with that. But basically, it was not an ethical investment decision. It was basically to reduce their economic exposure, because they think that the risk has not been properly priced into those shares. So over the longer term, they think that that's going to be a smart decision for the Superfund, which has a long-term investment horizon.
Right, that's a really interesting point of clarification. So are they explicitly saying, sorry, because I was fussing around and moving papers and working out what's coming up next, are they explicitly saying that wasn't an ethical decision?
No, they're doing it for economic reasons, because they think that because in the long term, the pension fund is really about a long-term investment decision. They're saying that in the long run, this will be a better investment decision than if they sort of hang on to them for now, because they don't think that the risk of that climate change poses to these companies have been actually factored in.
Into their value, their
yeah,
market
so
value.
eventually they think it's going to pay off for them. So they're taking a long-term view.
Absolutely fascinating. What's been the response to that? Have people been talking about it?
I don't know. To be honest, I sort of sit in my newsroom there. I'm not really sure. We didn't go out and talk to people on the streets, but I think that people are aware that climate change is a risk, and we're seeing that more and more in investment decisions. And this particular company, the fund, is involved in investment decisions that are part of a global movement.
Absolutely, and they're also involved in ethical decisions on behalf of people who are starting KiwiSaver at a very, very young age.
Yes, that's right.
And may have it for decades.
But that isn't the driving force. They're saying, hey, it's the risk is there, and it's time to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
What else happened on the markets?
Thank you, Nona. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we're still the reporting season. We're going to have Fletcher billing tomorrow. Today, though, we had Somerset, which is a retirement village operator. Their net profit, first half net profit, rose 78%, and that's a lot of it was to do with revaluations of the property. So they develop retirement villages. They did very well. Their share price rose 3%, finished up 15 cents to $5.05. And that helped propel our market index, NZ Top 50 index, up 2/3% to another record high, as you might imagine, 52 points to 7,814. That's because North Korea apparently isn't going to bomb Guam just yet, according to the market sentiment. They're thinking that North Korea is buttoned back to bits. So.
And also fascinating that Donald Trump came out and made explicit. We're going to talk about this next, actually. So, boy, there's a lot of tea leaf reading going on in the global markets at the moment, isn't there?
There always is.
Yeah,
there always is.
Yeah.
Anyways, our dollar all through this all has been steady. It's 73 cents, 92.9 Australian, and 56.3 pence.
And Nona, I should clarify, of course, as you did, but I didn't, that you were talking about the Super Fund, right?
Oh yes, the New Zealand Super Fund.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nona Peltier. Thank you so much.